Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, I'm on the mend. I'm feeling a lot better, but I'm still a little bit under the weather. Pneumonia is just so freaking hard to shake. Anyways, I've got a lot of news to talk about, so buckle in. So first thing on the docket here, and we're talking about Nintendo 3DS emulation with Azahar or subscribe to Mr. Sujano, depending on how you wanted to pronounce that. Anyways, Azahar just went public. So the source code for Azahar is now public, which means that developers who wanted to go in to help out this emulator, I guess, can. As for whether or not it's stable, they say no, they don't recommend using it just yet. They say it's not necessarily stable and it's not recommended to use the emulator unless you are a developer or an early adopter who understands that the emulator isn't yet in a polished state. They do state though that they don't plan on taking too long for their very first official release. And once they have one official release, it should be in a relatively good place for pretty much everybody. We're going to have to wait and see on this one, but I do have high hopes for Azahar. Moving on, and we're talking about multiple arcade machine emulator MAME, and MAME version 0.275 just dropped. And like pretty much every single release of MAME, we've got a whole bunch of fixes, a whole bunch of improvements, and some brand new compatibility. They're saying here that several arcade games on PlayStation-based hardware are now supported. In my opinion here, the MAME development team continues to impress month after month. And if I scroll down to new working systems, I can see Aero Fighter Special. And if I scroll down just a little bit here to systems promoted to working, I can see Primal Rage 2. Next up, we're talking about the upcoming Retroid Pocket Flip 2, and if you're looking forward to this handheld, we now have the specs as well as the colors. Interestingly, there will be two different versions of the Flip 2. They both have the same RAM, both sitting at 8 gigs, both have the same storage at 128 gigs. Both appear to have the exact same screen, but the big difference between the two is the chipset. So one's got the MediaTek Dimensity 1100, and the other one has a Snapdragon 865. So this one is similar to the one with the MediaTek is very similar to the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro, where the Snapdragon processor is very similar to the Retroid Pocket 5 and Mini. There's 4 different colors here. We've got the ice blue, the GameCube colorway, the black colorway, and the 16-bit US colorway, which mimics a Super Nintendo. Overall, I'm a little bit partial to the 16-bit US one, but let me know your thoughts about this one because I've seen a lot of people really like that GameCube colorway. Unfortunately, I don't know the prices just yet, and I think that would dictate which one to go for. If they are relatively similar in price, both versions of the Flip 2, I'd be going with the Snapdragon version every day, all day, every day of the week. However, if there's a huge price difference between the two, the MediaTek one may be more attractive. I guess it depends on what systems you plan on emulating and what you plan on doing with the device. If you're looking to get every ounce of power out of it and emulate the best systems possible, I would say the Snapdragon is the way to go here. Moving on and shifting from a retro handheld to a different type of handheld, a controller. Next up, we're talking about 8BitDo. And 8BitDo has just introduced the 8BitDo Ultimate 2 wireless controller. They're calling this one a flagship fully upgraded for next level performance. They say here that these controllers are compatible with Windows and Android, and I'm also going to guess stuff like the Raspberry Pi and even more. And they say experience ultra low latency 2.4G wireless with 8-speed technology, precision TMR joysticks, switchable triggers, and a customizable RGB lighting fire ring. These are up for pre-order already over on Amazon for about $60 overall, which I would say is very reasonable for a controller like this. I would even say that may be a good deal. I'm a big fan of 8BitDo controllers. I'm still the biggest fan of their Pro 2 controller, but at the same time here, it's nice to see them make improvements to the rest of their lineup. And they do think that, I'm pretty sure they think the Ultimate controller is their best one. I would disagree with that, but at the same time here, the Ultimate controller is still a very good controller. Anyways, here $60 I'd say is a good deal. There's 3 colorways overall. There's the purple one, there's a black one, and also a white one. Let me know which one you think looks the best in the comments below. I'd probably say the black or the white one to me, but the purple one also looks pretty good. I don't know here. I think I'm going to stick with my Pro 2 because I love it so much, and I've already got a handful of the wireless Ultimate controllers anyway. However, if you scroll to the bottom of that listing, there's some information here that may sway you one way over the other. They directly compare the Ultimate 2 versus the existing 2.4G, and there are arguably some pretty significant differences. So first and foremost here, they switch from Hall effect joysticks, which are nothing to sneeze at, to the arguably better, depending on how they're implemented, TMR joysticks. On top of that, from the bumpers here, they went from silicone to tactile. The battery capacity, this is a huge difference. They went from 480 milliamp hours to 1000 milliamp hours, over double the capacity. They went from USB Type-A charging to USB Type-C charging. They say now fast bumpers, L4 and R4. 6-axis motion control is in the Ultimate 2, which was not in the Ultimate 2.4G. And obviously the RGB firing. Next up, we're talking about something that'll probably interest quite a few people. If you're a fan of Balatro, if you wish Balatro released years earlier, if you think it's that great of a game that would have been enjoyed year over year over year, system over system, well, it seems that someone has ported Balatro to the Nintendo DS. And in my opinion, this game fits really nicely on the DS. It looks pretty good. Now, it's worth noting that this port isn't necessarily perfect. It may get better in time here, but they don't have music right now. They ported over 12 of the boss blinds and 15 different jokers. The project is completely open source, and if you are curious about it, like everything we talk about, link will be in the description below right at the bottom. Let me know your thoughts about Balatro on the Nintendo DS in the comments below. Next up, we're talking about a game you may not be familiar with. It's called Justice Ninja Casey. And if you're saying, you know what, I'm not familiar with this game because it hasn't released yet, it's coming out Q1 2025. You may be partially correct. This game was originally released back in 1994 on the SNES. It was a Japanese exclusive and now is getting a Western release in English. So yes, it hasn't released yet, but yes, it also has released. If you are very curious about this one, it is on the SNES, but it is getting a North American release here, and I am very excited about this one. Unfortunately, I don't know the price yet, and I don't know the specific release date. It just says Q1 2025. Which means January, February, or March, so probably pretty soon. And speaking about stuff launching on Steam, next up here we're talking about Monster Hunter Wilds, which just released. Now, this game over on Steam has not a very high review score and is probably a lot lower than Capcom was expecting. It's got a mixed overall review score right now, and that's largely because of performance issues. Taking a look at some of the reviews here, and this person says this game is everything wrong with PC optimization in 2025. And this person says this game is absolutely amazing, but has the worst optimization I've ever seen. Now, it wouldn't be fair just to take a look at the negative reviews. We should maybe look at a positive one, and I think I've highlighted a great one right here. This game is a solid 10 frames per second on the Steam Deck. Damn, if you close your eyes, it looked nice. Steam Deck terrified. It seems that Capcom is well aware of these issues. I mean, over on their website, they do have a support section for Monster Hunter Wilds with a Q&A, and they try to troubleshoot a few different things here. In my opinion, this shouldn't be happening because Monster Hunter Wilds, again, in my opinion, is Capcom's bread and butter. This is arguably one of their biggest games, bigger than stuff like Street Fighter. This is a huge moneymaker for them, and I think they're banking on this game quite a bit. And for it to be released in this poor of a state is very concerning. However, and this is very important, even though the game is arguably not optimized very well at all, a lot of people are having issues with it, a lot of people are not reviewing it very well, and over on Steam it doesn't have a very good review score. The game is still a juggernaut in terms of success. People are still playing this game left, right, and center. I mean, if you take a look over on SteamDB, right now it's sitting in second place, only behind Counter-Strike 2. It's got over 1.2 million people currently playing this game, with a peak of over 1.3 million people playing it. So if I take a look at the 24-hour peak, again, it is in second place. And if I take a look at the all-time peak for most popular games ever on Steam, it's currently sitting in sixth place. It is doing extremely well overall. If you've played Monster Hunter Wilds, let me know your experiences with it in the comments below. Do you think these performance issues are overblown? Do you think the performance issues are valid? However, just the fan base is so passionate about this game, they're playing it anyway. And on a side note here, I'm curious to know how many of those players are people from Pocket Pair, because it turns out that Palworld Studio Pocket Pair is giving developers the day off to play Monster Hunter Wilds. I would say this is a big win for the game developer. And speaking about developers and stuff being developed, next up we're talking about Framework. And Framework has just announced the Framework Laptop 13 that is powered by an AMD Ryzen AI 300 series CPU. If you've got your eye on Framework, you may want to pay attention to their latest announcement here. The brand new laptop starts shipping in April. They say here these new laptops will have Wi-Fi 7, a revamped thermal system, next generation keyboard, new bezel and expansion card color options, and even more. These laptops are fully repairable. You can take them apart, you can upgrade them, and I think Framework does a really good job with these. As for pricing, they say pricing starts at about $899 USD for a DIY edition, or if you wanted it pre-built, it's $1,099. And on top of that, they are keeping their AMD Ryzen 740 series systems in production at a newly discounted price of $749. And speaking about AMD, next up we're talking about the upcoming Radeon RX 9070 and 9070 XT. They are being launched on March 6th, and the pricing here may be attractive to quite a few people. So the standard RX 9070 is priced at $549 USD, where the RX 9070 XT is only about $50 more at $599 or $600 USD. Let me know your thoughts about this price in the comments below for both of them. And let me know which one you'd prefer if you were in the market for one of these cards. Would you save $50 and pick up the 9070, or pay the extra $50 and pick up the XT version? And for some comparison here, some very interesting comparison, the RX 9070 is 38% faster than the RX 6800 XT and 26% faster than the RTX 3080. And if we take a look at the XT version, it is 51% faster than the RX 6900 XT and 26% faster than the RTX 3090. Next up here, we're talking about Doom. And yes, someone has run Doom in Minecraft. There's a brand new video showcasing Doom in action in Minecraft. Is it ideal? Well, you can see here, absolutely not. Is it playable? Some people would say yes, but I would say, well, playable is a very generous term if you think that's playable. At the same time, it's still pretty cool. And to further Doom running on different stuff, what about Doom in file names? This person here was able to render Doom using file names. I am not joking with you. And interestingly, it's easier to see and follow along than the Minecraft version. Still not great, but at the same time here, I guess Doom can be, well, it can be run on basically anything. If you've got something that doesn't run Doom, then that's not good. And shifting from something arguably not good to good, and we're talking about GamersNexus. And there's a brand new YouTube channel here you may be interested in if you're a fan of consumer rights. So the channel is called GNCA, which stands for, I think you know, or GamersNexus Consumer Advocacy. Anyways, they say it's a consumer-focused, non-reviews channel that focuses on consumer rights issues, the gradual and perpetual erosion of ownership and property by mega corporations, and investigations into companies. Now, they only have one video so far on this channel, but they already have over 73,000 subscribers. And I think this is one to pay attention to, especially with all of the stuff that GamersNexus has been involved in these recent months. Let me know your thoughts about this one, but I will be subscribing. And speaking about arguably good news, next up here, we're talking about Visions of Mana. And if you're a fan of this game, if you were looking forward to it but didn't pick it up because Denuvo was on it, well, you might be excited now that this game no longer has Denuvo. Taking a look at the Steam store page, and Denuvo is no longer listed. So it appears that Square Enix has removed Denuvo from Visions of Mana. Next up here, we're shifting from arguably good news to arguably bad news, and we're talking about the Mayor of Sanctuary. And it appears this game has kind of screwed over the developer, at least according to the developer. Well, the game didn't, but the publishers of this game apparently did. So this game is available over on itch.io. It's a game for the Game Boy Color here, and I think this game looks pretty good. In fact, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this one before. So in the description of this video, and I'm 99% sure we've talked about this one before a couple of times. Anyways, the Mayor of Sanctuary was originally released in December of 2023, and the new expanded edition was released in July of 2024. The expanded edition adds new content, new characters, new collectibles, new scenes, and new music. And this is huge. The Mayor of Sanctuary is no longer affiliated with Incubate Games, Retro Modding Incorporated, or Oliver Lemire. They are knowingly selling the game against my consent, stealing all royalties, and violating copyright law. They have been served with a formal cease and desist, a Digital Millennium Copyright Act notice, and their distribution license was officially terminated, none of which they have honored. And interestingly here, if I do take a look at the Incubate Games website, it is still up. The Mayor of Sanctuary is available for a digital download of $20. And this to me is highly concerning, especially if this is true, then, well, this is not a good look for the publisher. And it's really not encouraging for game developers. If you wanted to learn more about this and hear the developer's story, they have a brand new video over on YouTube called Nara Makes Games, the final episode. And in the thumbnail, they say why I am walking away. It appears the developer is completely walking away from this stuff. So let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. This to me is, well, it's not a good look for the overall industry, given the fact that this is not the first time we've seen developers versus publishers in recent months. It is highly concerning to me. On a side note here, taking a look at itch.io, the game seems to be a lot cheaper than over on Incubate Games. I'm not certain if the Incubate Games version is the enhanced edition. I don't think it is. Anyways, I might be wrong about that, but either way here on itch.io, if you click download now, you can actually get the game for free, cheaper than $20 over on Incubate Games. Or you can pay what you want. Again, the suggested price here is $4.99, which is cheaper than $20. And speaking about stuff that I guess can be gotten for free, next up here we're talking about, well, Shazam, kinda. For those who may not be aware, Shazam is an application that you can use to identify a song just by listening to it. Anyways, the thumbnail of this video says, please don't sue me. And the title is, I recreated Shazam's algorithm from scratch because no one is hiring Jay on our devs. The video itself is very interesting on how the developer went about and created it. And the GitHub here is called SeekTune, and it seems to be 100% open source. Next up here, we're talking about Avast. And if you used Avast between 2014 and 2020 and paid for it, well, you may want to pay attention to this article. So anyways, for those who may not be aware, Avast used to be a very popular antivirus, one that I would say is not required in today's day and age with the existence of Windows Defender that's 100% free. Anyways, there's paid and free versions of Avast. A lot of people like the free version of Avast, and it turns out that Avast was selling customer web browsing history. So it says here over on the article, the initial complaint, the FTC alleged that Avast collected the browsing information of customers through its antivirus software and browser extensions and sold it without notice or consent. Avast then sold the data to more than 100 third parties through its Jump Shop subsidiary. The data in question contained details about the searches and web pages accessed by users, user history, revealing their religious beliefs, health concerns, political leanings, location, financial status, and other sensitive information. It seems that there were a total of 3,690,813 consumers that were affected. I don't know if all of them are going to register to get paid by this settlement. I've got no idea here. But you may want to check out the article to learn more about it if you bought Avast software between August 2014 and January 2020, because there's a chance you may qualify for a piece of the $16.5 million. And speaking about data, next up we're talking about Mozilla, and this news has a lot of people talking about it, and not in a good way at all. It turns out that Mozilla now has a full license to all of your data through Firefox. Their terms of service was updated, and a lot of people are not happy about it, myself included. If you are curious about this one and wanted to learn more about it, I do recommend checking out Mozilla's website, where it does explain exactly what they use the data for. And I will say here, based on my understanding and what I've read, I used to use Mozilla Firefox. I was a big fan of it. But based on the recent information here, and I do have some reservations about the new privacy policy and how they're using data. And I do use LibreWolf as well, which I don't think has to abide by any of this stuff, and I think it may be a bit more private. But at the same time here, it's just, it's disappointing to see, and at least the confusion, at the very least, the confusion because of their wording is even more disappointing. It seems that they could have written this a little bit better. It seems as if they could have, well, not needed to do any of this stuff. And if you're wondering what browsers I use, personally, I use LibreWolf on PC. I'm a big fan of it. On Android, I use stuff like DuckDuckGo. And on top of that, a lot of people recommend using Brave. I personally don't use it, but a lot of people seem to really like it. And last up here, we're talking about EA, and I would say this is a rare big W for EA. MVG is reporting that EA has uploaded fully recovered source code for Command & Conquer, CNC Red Alert, CNC Renegade, and CNC Generals plus 0 hour to GitHub. So if you are a fan of Command & Conquer games, this could be a very exciting thing for you. Let me know your thoughts about this one. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. She's upstairs again cuddling with Mrs. Sujano. Anyways, we talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.